Hi, Shabbat Shalom. Throughout the years in my rabbinate, knowing that I have to speak and teach about every parsha, I have been almost incredulous about the fact that the parshiot that we read have connection to the life that we live. It's one of the things that makes Torah Eitz Chaim, a living document, as it were, because it continues to speak to us, sometimes in rather obvious ways, and sometimes it calls to be interpreted. It's been particularly meaningful to find these connections between what the Torah has been teaching us each week and what we're experiencing during these days of the coronavirus. This week was no exception. In this week's Parshiot in Bahar Bechukotai, there are a number of rules, laws about land use or limitations on land use. We know that the corners of the field were to be left unharvested so that the poor could come and take food. We know that which we harvested when there was produce which was left over, we were not allowed to go back and pick it up, but rather it was for the poor to come and reap during the night. Similarly, the land was to lay fallow on the 7th year, and on the 49th year, all lands were to go back to their original owners. All of these laws make for good social policy. It helps to contain poverty, as it were. It allows those who are hungry to be fed. All of these laws also seem to have some very important implications for land use, so that the land isn't over-harvested and the nutrients from the land doesn't just diminish. And the law also has to do with social justice. There cannot be wealthy ruling classes for generation and generation, but rather on the Jubilee year, property goes back to its original owner. Brilliant concepts. But it has to do with something else also that we don't usually think of when we read the laws, and that has to do with ownership. Because the laws are making a statement, and the statement is, you think you own something? You don't really. There's a larger owner to this universe. There are rules that are beyond the rules that you set as the property owner, as the business owner, that you have to be answerable to. There's a great story of when the first white settlers came to the island of Manhattan and offered to purchase the land from the Native Americans who were living there. And when the Native Americans were given the offer, they laughed because they thought, we don't own the land. They didn't think of land ownership in that way. When we think of land ownership as if we have ultimate control and don't consider the implications for the people around us, then we create a society which is out of whack, it's out of order. When we realize that we have to have reverence for the land, and we have to think about what it will mean a generation from now, and what it means for our neighbors and for those without the land, then we treat it a little bit differently. So all of these rules that we find in the Torah that have to do with social justice, have to do with land and land ownership, has a larger implication, and that is all of us are here for a limited time. In some ways, we're all tenant farmers in this place that we call Earth. I wish you all good Shabbos.